How about for elite players? What are some of the mental performance areas that you see that maybe you have somebody that's elite, they're not quite at the very top? What separates the top of the elite to the middle of the elite group?
A lot of it has to do with their mental toughness, which is what can they do under pressure? Are they stepping up to the plate and saying, no matter what, I'm going to compete?
Welcome to Charge Forward Coaching, the podcast for committed athletes and individuals who want to achieve more on and off the field. Hosted by James Blasco, certified mental toughness and resilience coach. You'll gain insights and inspiration from elite athletes, coaches, and others who know what it takes to excel. Are you ready to go to the next level? Then tune in, get inspired, and let's charge forward. Now here's your host, James Blasco.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Charge Forward Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, James Blasco. Thanks for tuning in, as always. Well, today we have a great guest, and we're going to focus, well, of course, on mental toughness in sports, but specifically, we're going to zero in on tennis today. And today, our guest is Milena Volkova. She has been in the tennis world for many, many years, both as a player, an elite player, and as a coach. And she's one of the most fantastic coaches out there. So I'd like to welcome Milena to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, James.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. So why don't we start with just a little bit of your background. I know you're originally from Russia, Ukraine, and you played tennis there as a junior and then started your coaching career. So why don't you just fill us in on some of those details?
I was born and raised in Ukraine and started playing tennis around 7, 8 years old and started to compete around 10. Played a junior competition circuit and was fairly successful in the country within Ukraine. Although at that point of time we were playing all over USSR, traveled extensively, and at this point of time it would be like competition over in 10 different countries. Back then it was still one. That brought very interesting experiences, competition and competitive experiences. And after that, I went to school in Moscow and studied in a very prestigious institution that specifically focuses on sports and physical education. During that time, that is very important. During that time, I was working under the one of the brilliant professors who was linked to science and sports, and I was very innovative at that point of time. And I had a great experience working with Davis Cup team and Federation Cup team, and that was a priceless experience. Learning on the high level, elite training, the process. My job was to collect data and analyze it and submit that, and that was a big experience there. And after that, I happened to work in Russia and Adler at the Sports Academy. And that was my Russian experience, and moved to the United States and worked all over the country and starting and tennis camp and following into prestigious country clubs one after another, and end up in New Smyrna Beach after that. So that's probably sums up some of my experience.
Yeah, no, it's awesome stuff. Your history is fascinating, and especially when you talk about your education, because I do have some questions later, a little bit about sports psychology in Russia, Soviet Union back in the day. Hopefully we could touch on that. But I want to start with the game of tennis. And, some people don't realize this, but it truly is one of the sports that all sports require mental toughness, but this is right up there as one of those sports that it's high on the list that you have to have mental toughness. Walk us through why that is with this game of tennis.
Especially nowadays, mental toughness is one of the main aspects of the games, because you get to the elite tennis and everyone is already technically equipped. They're physically equipped. At that point of time, everyone is paying attention to their nutrition, but all it is going to come down during tough matches to how you can handle the pressure. And that differentiates you from being top 100 in the world, top 1,000 in the world, Division I tennis, Division II, and it trickles all the way down to recreational players. And obviously, everyone talks about it, but you have to have very specific tools and very specific training to be able to stay mentally tough throughout the competition.
So when you start working with a player, let's start with those that maybe are juniors or amateurs, folks like that. What are some of the areas from a mental perspective that you see immediately they may need to work on to play this game of tennis at a high level?
It is very visible from first match on. You look at your player, and the moment they finish the match, what are they talking about? Are they looking for all the excuses in the world that what happened in that match and why they lost? Are they saying, oh, I tried my best? Or it just right away you notice the interaction with you and the parents and what they emphasizing. In my experience and as a coach, and I do this more now than ever, I try to develop the relationship between loses and wins. And it's very important because when you develop the player, that should not even be a conversation. From the beginning on, I don't even ask if my player win or lose the match. The only question I ask, how did the match go? What did you accomplish? What was the goal? Did you play well? Was your serve working? You shift your focus from pressure of winning and losing to what you can accomplish as a player at this particular point of time in your career. What skills do you have? Then you have to work within your skills to be able to come home and say, yeah, my forehand was in today. I got my 10 serves in. It is very important because then you develop a player who goes out there with a purpose.
Yeah, that's so true. I know in the world of golf, Scotty Scheffler made a lot of news this week when somebody asked him about, how important it is to winning. And he says, you know what? It's really important. He goes, I love the process. He goes, but after I win, even if it's a major, my next thought is what's for dinner? It really doesn't define him. He just loves the process. And that's exactly what you described there. How about for elite players? What are some of the mental areas, mental performance areas that you see that maybe you have somebody that's elite, they're not quite, at the very top? What separates the top of the elite to the middle of the elite group?
I believe a lot of it has to do with their mental toughness, which is what can they do under pressure? Are they stepping up to the plate and saying, no matter what, I'm going to compete? And compete is the key word for me. You're out there to compete. And what can you do? I'm going to use an example. I had a girl I worked with for over the years, and she ended up playing Division I tennis, and we were playing high school tennis when the match was the finals for the state of Florida. In the finals, the match was 2.5 hours long. No one's around. It's hot as it can be. Both girls were nothing but a human backboards. And what do you say and what do you do? Everyone's exhausting just watching them play. So you tap in and what that player possesses. And the only thing that we said, I pulled her over and I said, listen, you can do this all day. So the player was able to tap into something that, yes, and she just woke up. She's like, yes, I can be on the court all day, being consistent, staying there with the ball, staying focused. And we delivered the win. And that's just one example where you have to tap in what your abilities are and never give up. And again, words never give up. What does it mean? But it has to be very specific. What are you good at? What do you see on the court that you can deliver under any circumstances? Go for your returns. Do what you're best at, and stay very positive throughout the process. It's exactly what you said. Competing is a process. It's as is a process as prepping for the process, and that just. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, that's spot on. when I talk about mental toughness on the podcast and some of the folks I work with, I zero in around what's referred to as the 4 C's of mental toughness: confidence, commitment, control, and challenge. And the one thing that sticks out to me, a couple of things you said, was emotional control. How important is it to develop and grow an athlete's emotional control as it relates to high-level competition?
Obviously, it's very emotional because, very important. The emotional player wastes energy. Is it a good energy or bad energy? It's something that takes you away from the focus and the match. You develop very specific skills. What do you do between the points? How do you direct your time when you have a few seconds to regroup? You have certain routine. Routine is the most important thing out there. You turn around, whatever makes you step outside the last point and be ready for the next one and not tap into your emotion. We all emotional players. There's no doubt about it. We're not robots out there. So you're going to have a great point. So have a nice gesture, fist pump, and move on. You're ready for the next. You had a bad point, whatever you have to do, turn around, look at your strengths, tap your shoe. And the moment you allow yourself few seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it takes you, you turn around and you back in it. And again, after a bad point, you develop certain habits. Maybe you tap yourself in the thigh and it's like, let's go, ready. And it's all emotional. It's all connected because you have those gestures. If you continue and stick with what you do that gesture right away, you send your brain already knows you're ready to go. And that's what you're trying to develop as an elite player. You have to stay within your routine that helps you to stay focused.
You just brought up so many great points. I don't know which direction to go into. I know where I'll go first. Routines. You bring up routines. I talk a lot about routines. I love routines. I think they're so critical, not just in sports, in life. They can really support and help you. How do you help an athlete, a tennis player, develop the right routine for them?
It is in the beginning. It's very basic. You take every player through the same steps. For example, we always develop a routine on the serve. The serve is the only stroke in tennis that you have full control of. And it can be, it's challenging in a way because it puts too much pressure on you because you are in charge the entire time from beginning to the end. But yet you can control it and you do certain preparations. You can bounce the ball 3 times. You can look at the ball connecting with the strengths. You always have a target in mind. It's on your at your pace and at your control. It's very important. So that's your routine for the serve. You should have a routine between the points. Like we already mentioned, you may want to just turn around for a second while you're going to pick up a ball. You may want to tap the back fence, and that's triggers and resets you like that. The last point is over, the new point is about to begin. The routine during the changeover is extremely important. Some players don't think about it. They just go turn to the other side, grab their sip, and then nothing to it. You need to sit down. You look at you bring your notes out. You reinforce what just working for you. So that's just the beginning. There's a lot more to it, but I think that answers that final. That initial question for the routine.
Yeah, it sure does, and I love that middle part of the match. I talk about beginning, middles, and ends, and the middle is so important in terms of what your process is and what your mindset is. How about routines prior to a match and post-match? How important are those?
It's as important as the match. I think the prior, you just set the goals for the player. What are we going to achieve today? What are we doing the first match, second? Junior tennis, as you know, has one match after another, which makes it a lot more difficult in the way, because as soon as you're out of one, you're jumping into the next one. So what's your goal for the first match, for example? You set up, you achieve, don't celebrate yet. The post routine should be Just okay, you just had a match. What's the routine? We're going to report the score. We're going to step outside, have a snack, relax, change your clothes, take a shower, whatever it takes. It's a very important routine that it doesn't speak a lot of mental toughness, but that's all the preparation. It's all you following your steps. You know what you're doing. It's very comforting to the player. They're in and out of, they've done their job. They're ready to do it again. And then you reset your goals for the next match because every match is different.
So when it comes to, you mentioned like triggers, things that athletes will do prior to the serve and so forth. Are those more personal to the individual, or are coaches assisting them with certain triggers or even mantras that they could use prior to execution?
You start as you introduce it to every single player. And then individual approach is very important because you work with your specific player. You know what triggers them. You know what will turn them around and upset them. So you specifically go into certain phrases they will say to themselves, or certain way they're going to look just look at their racket and spend a little extra time with their racket and moving their strings around so they can refocus. And the important points, I always work and say one thing: you have to keep moving and you have to stay very active. You cannot let the pressure of the point take over. And again, you have a very clear setup. What is it that you want to do with that point? We never want the point to overwhelm you. You want to stay within your perimeters, whatever they are, and what you want to do. And you execute. You move, you prepare, and you execute, and keep it simple. We can't over complicate and overthink. You just keep your goals are very, very simple. What's the first shot you need to do on the return of serve, for example? Or what's the placement you want to accomplish with your serve? And you start the point and you go from there.
Well, I know that competitive sports anxiety is a real thing. It's a normal thing. And as you know, it centers around like the uncertainty, the outcome of that event or that a match, and also the importance that the athlete is placing on that event or match. Do you talk to athletes about specifically the importance they might be putting on a big match or event that they're attending, or is that a no-no and you let that up to them to weight that experience?
No, I like to tap into the experiences prior to that. If they're going into a big match, you always revisit the matches that they had, and especially if they succeeded in accomplishing their goals, not necessarily win or loss, and just bring it up that they've done it before, that they've been there. This is not a situation that they cannot handle. This is something that's familiar territory, and even if it's always new jiggles and new nerves every time you play a match. It's a good thing. You have to be excited. You're not nervous about it. You're stepping into a big stage and you're going for, big match, and you just have to be excited about it. Stay within, again, tap into, let's say you had a very long tiebreaker that you won at the end. Always remember that moment. That's the moment that will carry you through. It's like, I don't know if I'll do cross-reference for a second, right? Like, let's say we play golf, and that's not my sport, but I play golf. I go and play 9 holes, and I do have a hole that I had a bogey on. Do I have business doing it or not? Makes no difference. But this is what you take with you. Next time you step on that golf course, you say, yes, I had a bogey. Let's say if I have another one. And tennis is the same way. You win a big tiebreaker. Nobody cares if it was 3 years ago, but that's the memory you tap in. You step in and you believe you can deliver.
Well, if you want help learning to have bogeys and double bogeys, and I'm your guy. I'm your guy. Just come to me. Cheap lessons on how to do that. Is there a play? There's probably a few, but if you could pick maybe one or two professional players that are out there that you think right now embodies kind of like the poster child of mental toughness in the sport, who might they be?
What a good question. It's quite a few of them out there. I'll start with the ladies, I guess. We just watched Wimbledon, and Iga Swiatek would be probably a poster child at this point of time, not because she won the tournament. I absolutely like her routines. I like her focus. She is the poster child because she's probably the first one who has a person on her team who helps her with mental toughness, and they're in the box every single time, which is something that we haven't seen when I was growing up or playing competitive tennis. So that just gets to show how important the mental toughness is. And the routines and the focus is just next level. It's between the points, it's during the points. New up-and-coming player, which is fantastic, Mira Andreeva, was so, again, very interesting situation was during Wimbledon. She was so focused on the match that she already won it and didn't even know it. She had to be reminded that she just won the match. That's your, again, mental toughness, staying fully in what you're doing, ignoring everything around you and not letting outside influence you, and staying with that focus and range. And on the men's side, Jannik Sinner is just simply amazing. I don't know. At this point of time, we can go into history and bring, Federer and Nadal and Djokovic. And Djokovic actually is a poster child for mental toughness. I think over the years, he proved that that's what keeps him on the tour. Even, he's not a young guy anymore, but it keeps him on the tour because of his mental toughness. And that's your poster children right there.
Yeah, those are some good poster children for sure. So I said in the beginning, I wanted to touch on some of the history of sports psychology in Russia, Ukraine, and so forth. Growing up as a player there, then a coach, and studying there, and then coming to the United States, there's such history between, first of all, the two countries as it relates to sports, but specifically sports psychology. What are some of the things that you learned in the Ukraine about sports psychology that rolled over to the United States, but maybe now in the United States are treated a little bit differently? Or is there anything like that you could point to?
I'm sure it's very different nowadays. It's been quite a while when I was playing, and believe it or not, and at that point of time when we were playing, it was more of a sink or swim mentality. So the players were learning as much on their own as the coaches would work with them. When I was growing up, mental preparation didn't really exist at that point of time. It was more what you can do physically, what you can do strategically on the court, and you go from there. It's interesting because I think I would be a much better player, and if I did have that support, mental support, because you had to, like I said, sink or swim, figure it out on your own, deal with your emotions. Very often we forget that some players are a lot more emotional than others. They need to be redirected and how to use your emotions. And it doesn't mean they don't care. They do, or maybe they care too much. Studying in school was a lot of knowledge, but it was more of a book knowledge at that point of time. And once again, the teams that consisted for the players were mostly physical, strategic, and technical, and mental toughness was really the players who were more physically fit at that point of time were probably more mentally prepared. And the way they were prepared, because they had to endure extra workouts, extra running, extra time on the court, that one way or the other preps you mentally because you put all the work in. So is that a little different when immigrating? And I think it's, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it shows in the, from the child development, it shows a little bit, as if I'm noticing now, we either give the kids a lot more excuses than proper support, and that has to change. We just have to educate the parents more and educate even the coaches and because the relationship is so intertwined between the player, the coach, and the parent. And I'm glad that it is on the spotlight. Mental toughness is all over. It's the players on the tour now coming forward and just being quite honest about that they're breaking down. They can't handle the pressure, and it puts the spotlight. So to say this has been around for a long time, I say this is new. This is just the elite players coming out now, just to say I need mental break, and they do. And look at the Anisimova just now. She was the finalist who took almost a year off for mental break reasons, or Osaka, Naomi Osaka did the same, and the list is long. So it is definitely more spotlight right now, and that's what I'm noticing in this country, and that's very important.
That's such an interesting perspective. I wish a lot of us, like yourself, wish when we were athletes younger that we had access to this type of information and support. And it's still growing. You're right. It's new in a lot of ways and evolving every single day. It's fascinating. But is there a player that you've coached, you don't have to mention their name or anything, that you're very proud of in terms of where they started, especially mentally in their performance, to where they ended up? Is there anybody out there you could point to and say that was just a great experience to be a part of?
You always, as a coach, come across the player that I have a lot of players who I'm proud of, and that doesn't necessarily mean they great players. I think the development is the most important thing. Yes, of course, and I'm very quite a few. I had a few that I'm proud of. And like I said, the girl who played Division I tennis was fantastic. I worked with someone in Russia who was delivering and playing under pressure and doing amazing work. They're definitely the one in particular story that stands out to me. Yes, the one that I was telling you about that ended up playing in Division I tennis was probably good experience, and it was a very long term. I started with a player, was a huge part of it, developing the player, and then of course they veer off and they go somewhere else and they come back to you, which was always a very just reinforced a lot of things. It's very comforting to see that you developed the player. They went somewhere else. They did get different training, and they still come back to you because they value obviously some input, and it's your important person in their development. And it speaks volumes for your relationship with the player. And yes, of course, I'm proud of every single student I work with, because every accomplishment is an accomplishment, and it carries over. It's you're not just developing a player, you're developing a human being, you're developing a good person, you're developing a person who is going to be successful in the society and going to be just the productive person. And that's, yes, definitely.
And that's rewards enough.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, right? To know that you played a hand in that.
Absolutely.
So what would you, if there was one bit of advice that you would give to a young athlete, high school, maybe college, maybe even a little younger, who's starting their career, what might that be?
I would say just put the work in, find the joy in what you do. you can, any sport, any work is such a love-hate relationship. So tap into love. Find what is it that tickles you when you come back to the court, because not every day you want to wake up and go work in 100 degrees and then run and sweat and put the work in, and sometimes with no results for a very long time. But it's not a waste. It always comes back. It's always rewarding. You'll see. It's very important not to set your goals as a result. We're living in a society where we want an instant gratification, and this is not one of them. It's not going to happen overnight. So just enjoy the process. Find the things you love about it. What is it that brings you back to the sport? Take a break if you need it. Go do cross training. But it will, if you love the sport, you will always be back.
For sure. So you're down at the Racket and Tennis Center in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, which is a beautiful area for those listeners who are not in Florida or around this part of the world. How can people get in touch with you? Tell us a little bit more about the center itself.
We're New Smyrna Beach Tennis Center. Please find us on the new website. It's nsbtennis.com. We pride ourselves in a small club, but we pride ourselves in we treat everyone like it's our family, and very comfortable place to be. Everyone's welcome, and we try to accommodate any player from the very beginner, if it's a junior, if it's an adult. We host leagues, and there's a lot of play going on, and any level is pretty much covered at our club. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. You'll always find the group you're looking for, and just I think we're a really nice place.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people reaching out to you. You provided a ton of great information, and we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being on this episode of the Charge Forward Coaching Podcast. For the rest of you out there, don't forget to like and subscribe and share all that good stuff. But most of all, keep charging forward.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Charge Forward Coaching. Remember, the journey to greatness is built on mental toughness and consistent effort. So head on over to chargeforwardcoaching.com and book a free discovery call to take the next step in your journey. Until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep charging forward.